Okay, good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to Public Service Knowledge Hub today, this evening. My name is Jami Onosoya, your regular host and the convener, Public Service Knowledge Hub. Yeah, today's topic is from data to development, how statistics drive Lagos State economic planning. Yeah, in today's public service, effective governance is driven not by assumptions, but by accurate data and sound statistics. From budgeting and infrastructure to social program and economic policy, statistics provide the evidence that guides government decision in Lagos State. When data is reliable and well interpreted, development becomes more targeted, transparent, and impactful. This session is designed to help public servants understand how statistics go beyond numbers and how they directly influence planning, resource allocation, and long-term development outcomes. It is also an opportunity for us to appreciate our role, not only as users of data, but as contributors to a system where quality data leads to quality governance. It is my honor to usher in our facilitator for tonight's session. We are privileged to be joined by Mr. Hosseini Okpe Bashiru Temitope, a chartered statistician and director, the Lagos State Bureau of Statistics under the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. Mr. Hosseini Okpe brings deep professional experience in data generation, analysis, and application for public policy in Lagos State. His work ensures the government planning and economic decisions are firmly grounded in evidence, accountability, and professionalism. We are confident that tonight's session will be practical, enlightening, and valuable to all participants. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Hosseini Okpe Bashiru Temitope as he takes us through tonight's session. Good evening once again, sir, Mr. Bashiru, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr.
Good evening,
Jamiu Onosoya, the host and the convener of this Public Service Knowledge Hub. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So, sir, you have the floor, sir.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Onosoya. My name is once again Hosseini Okpe Bashiru Temitayo, Director, Lagos Bureau of Statistics, Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. I have to recognize the permanent body of permanent secretaries, attending this webinar, and the host of colleagues and other dignitaries on this platform for this webinar. The topic before me is from data to development, how statistics drives Lagos State's economic planning. Next. Table of contents are what is data and why data drives planning. From data to development, strategic importance of statistics, MDA's mandates, objectives, and key performance indicators, data ecosystem in Lagos State, Eco 360, and SDGs alignment, data quality and validation challenges, and lastly, leadership role and development outcomes. What is data? This is an official record of government activities, services, and outcomes. Official record of what? government does, who it serves, where it serves them, and the results achieved. For example, in the state, we have pupils enrolled in public schools, primary, secondary, and so on. Number of roads constructed, number of patients treated in a state hospital, it could be primary health care, and so on and so forth. Amount spent on infrastructure. Each time an MDA delivers a service, data is created. What are we saying? There are mandates of MDAs. Within the mandates, it will show your goals. The goals of that MDA will depend on the mandates. And by the mandates, you have the objectives. Why we are carrying out those mandates, as well as the functions which spread across departments and units within the MDA, within the agency. As you are aware, in collecting data, if you are carrying out an assignment, carrying out your mandates, carrying out your functions, you are also creating a data. And in doing that, it depends on the activities of what the MDA stands to carry out. You need to understand your mandates. You need to understand your functions. You also need to understand the type of data, modus operandi will determine the type of formats, you are going to draw in the collection of the data. And in data collection, we have important and non-important data. And from there, you will sieve out the important ones, which will determine your key performance indicators. And there are many performance indicators, but the key ones will speak directly to the goals and mandates of your agency. Next. Why data drives planning? It drives planning because it shows trends, enabling government to allocate resources effectively and make informed decisions. In doing this, planning data is like the front office. Planning is at the back office following the data. Without the data, there is no planning. Without the planning, there is no costing. You have to cost what we have planned, which is the budgeting. And in costing, you have to implement what you have costed. And you have to do what is called monitoring and evaluation to show value for money, that what we have planned for is actually what we are carrying out. It's like building a school. In building that school, you have some operational indicators in ensuring that they plan 12 windows, 5 doors, conveniences. Then you have to ensure that those windows are 12 according to these descriptions and specifications. In building that school, as the school stands, it becomes an output. And the school cannot stand alone. You have to put instructional materials and the people. By putting instructional materials and the people, it will give us an outcome. And why we want to carry out the classrooms, in order to increase the number of classrooms and reduce the classroom student ratio or pupils classroom ratio, in such a way that you have to provide the instructional materials. The people are the students and the teachers before you can achieve the impact. You will achieve the outcome, but in order to sustain the outcomes which you believe that brings about the goals of the agency. Why that? Because there has been a data that shows that they have 54 students to a classroom, and you set a target maybe within the next 5 years, you want to gradually reduce the number of pupils into a classroom maybe to 26, and you you build more classrooms, you provide more instructional materials, you employ teachers, and so on and so forth. In doing that, there is what is called the goals, the mandates, and the key performance indicators. As I mentioned earlier, there are many performance indicators, but the key ones are directly synonymous to the goals of the agency. And for the following reasons, it shows what is happening, where it is happening, and who is affected. Effective planning also depends on accurate, timely, and validated data. Without data, priorities are assumed, not evidence-based, because it is the data that will determine the priorities. And in ensuring that the data is evidence, the data needs to be validated. Next. Strategic importance of data. Foundation of planning, budgeting, and monitoring. Foundation of planning is the data. It's like a vicious circle from data to planning, from planning to costing, which is the budgeting, from budgeting to implementation, from implementation to monitoring, and most importantly, the evaluation. Without the data, data serves as fulcrum between the data itself, where you have the data before you plan, you cost. When you have the planning, you budget, which is the budget you implement, and you follow the due process in the monitoring as well as the evaluation. And what I easily mention is the evaluation, moving from the inputs, the activities, the output. When you add the people and the instructional materials, as I mentioned, using the building of classroom as hypothetical example earlier, you will have the outcomes and ultimate the impact. And the impact, why you are building that classroom and you are providing the instructional materials as well as the people, both the teachers and the students, is you want to reduce the student classroom ratio from 54 to 26. And we can do that over 2 or 3 years in medium term in order to achieve the ultimate impact while we carry out such project. As I mentioned, data provides the factual basis for setting priorities, allocating resources, tracking government performance. And in setting priorities, out of 10, and the cost, priorities depends on the provision of funds, paucity of funds, and the envelope allocated to such agency may not be able to accommodate the 10 priorities. You reprioritize. maybe 7 projects or programs, set of projects make a program. And 7 of them could accommodate your allocated envelope. And you reprioritize and ensure allocating resources. Data interplays between the setting priorities, allocating resources, and tracking. And it is implementation that you track the performance, either in order to get the output, to get the outcomes, and automate the impact. Data is also critical for evidence-based decision making. It ensures policies and decisions are guided by facts rather than assumptions. It drives accountability and performance. It enables government to measure results, hold institutions accountable, and improve service delivery. Next. MDA's mandates, objectives, and key performance indicators. MDAs are set up and with mandates, and government ensures that we have mandate mapping. Within the mandate, you determine the functions which we cut across departments and units of that MDA. And within the mandates, you have set objectives. And the set objectives will determine how you are going to carry out your activities. And as I mentioned, that in carrying out activities, you also need to use data and measure performance indicators. And the key performance indicators are those indicators that are directly and synonymous to the mandates of that MDA. The key performance indicators will also assist MDAs to deliver their mandates as well as the goals while they are operating as an MDA. And the mandates, one, each MDA operates under defined mandates, which is legally assigned roles with functions and responsibilities. Mandates also determines the objectives and the data needs. Without the objectives, in order to avoid the conflict between one MDA or the other, you have set objectives, and the mandates of agency A will differ to the agency B in order to avoid conflict. And that's why we are using the medium-term sector strategy to drive the budget from the medium-term expenditure framework. And once we have set objectives, then we have the data needs. And in ensuring the data needs, we will derive our key performance indicators from the set objectives. These are the details of the defined mandates with the set objectives and the type of data required to measure our performance. And data must also reflect statutory responsibility of that particular MDA. You collect, you report, and align with duties assigned to each MDA. Next. We have the objectives which translate the responsibilities into actions. The objectives are those set of actions that will assist MDAs with data needs and in order to achieve measuring performance metrics through the key performance indicators. The objectives also translate an MDA's mandate into specific actionable targets. And they also define what the MDA intends to achieve within a given period. Objectives also guide planning, budgeting, and resource allocation. Next. Next. Key performance indicators. It measures how well those actions are achieved using data, such as KPIs measure achievement of objectives. Of course, we have what is called the data set. The data set, we speak which is the granular. The granular the data is, the better it is. And the key performance indicators will be measured from these data sets, which the objectives must have highlighted. That means it provides measurable indicators to track progress towards set objectives. For every mandate in an MDA, we have set objectives that speak to the mandate. And the mandates we also granulated into responsibilities. And the responsibilities we granulated into the data, type of data you collect. And the collection aggregate of this data will speak to your key performance indicators. It requires accurate and timely data. And data, a good data, we have heading, we have time, and we have essential factors to be collected. It must be reliable and timely. What you collect in January will differ from what you are going to collect in February and March. The time must be must differ, must be specific, and which is reflect through performance of such objectives. KPIs also provide a clear basis for monitoring progress, ensuring accountability, and improving service delivery within MDAs. Yes, KPIs are very important, and we should also be aware that without the data set, you may not be able to determine the performance metrics, which we also known as the key performance indicators. It also helps MDAs identify performance gaps. Performance gaps are those guides, corrective actions, improve efficiency in achieving government objectives. For example, we can set a target that we want to reduce the pupil classroom ratio from 54 to 45, then to 30. Then you start setting milestones, you set targets, and from the programs you granulated into projects. Collection of projects can make a program. Without achieving those projects, you may not be able to achieve a particular program. And data drives all what you want to achieve. You measure performance metrics in order to determine the objectives which will speak to the mandates of that agency. Next. Data ecosystem in Lagos State. Eco 360 and Sustainable Development Goals alignment. Eco 360 is a digital platform for the state being controlled and managed by the Lagos Bureau of Statistics, Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. The data ecosystem integrates the MDA's data through Eco 360 to monitor development, performance, and align state outcomes with sustainable development goals. As we are aware that we have 17 goals, 169 targets, and 232 indicators under the Sustainable Development Goals. ECO 360 is a digital platform of state government, and I must commend the state government and appreciate the sustainability of this digital platform, where we can access our data, download our data, look at the trends analysis, and the data already we have integrated all the MDAs according to the classification of functions of government, which are none except the defense. At subnational level, we have 9 COFOG sectors. For conveniency, they are all functional groups. And we've done the sensitization. There is an app called Data Collection App, which we had carried along all MDAs in the entire public service of Lagos State. We have done that so far. We have aligned this. We have for each MDA, through the planning units and other professionals within each agency, we have the data collector and data validator, where at the convenience of your office or any part in the world, since there is data has gone beyond traveling from one point to another. But by the use of technology, it has assisted particularly the Lagos State and other clients on our data ecosystem to achieve the data collection from any point you have, once we have access to internet. And we have also integrated all MDAs, which they've been using it to submit data, which at the back end, we will download the data and synchronize. Already, we have the public-facing portal, which we have as eco360.ng. eco360.ng. That's the platform where you can access the Lagos data, and you can also cut and dice, and you can also predict, use it, and use it for research. Researchers are also advised, and the members of staff and those that are on this webinar can access this open data platform of the Lagos State government, where you can use the data for development. And this alignment of the ECO 360 ensures evidence-based planning, accountability, global comparability of Lagos State progress. Alignment with ECO 360, it serves as Lagos State integrated data platform. Why are they integrated? It connects all the data from one sector across the COFOG line and even beyond, consolidating MDA's data to monitor performance and development outcomes, such as ECO 360 integrates sectorial data, tracks socioeconomic development, and ultimately supports governors' developmental agenda, which is Teams Plus agenda. Next. Alignment with SDGs. SDGs provide a global framework for measuring social, economic, and environmental development. They help government track progress, guide policy priorities, and ensure inclusive and sustainable growth. As we are aware, policy formulation, policy development, policy implementation, and policy review, all this data is very allows initiation of policy formulation. The data will show you where there are challenges. The data will also assist us to measure performance, as I have been discussing during this webinar. And data plays very important roles in policy formulation, policy implementation, and even review of the policy. And part of it, such as MDAs contribute directly to SDG indicators. It provides standardized framework, which is for global development actions, for MDAs to track progress and align their activities with global development goals. Education, health, infrastructure, and even economy. SDG guide priority sectors by setting measurable targets, ensuring improvements in key areas that impact citizens' well-being. Global comparability of Lagos data. SDG enable Lagos to generate data using internationally recognized indicator. Showing it comparable with other regions and countries of the world. Next. Why data quality remains a challenge? One, incomplete and inconsistent submissions. We have different MDAs use separate formats, and their formats depend on the mandates as well as the set objectives and the functions of the MDAs and the databases, making integration and consistency difficult. The reason why from one MDA to another, the mandates must differ in order for the medium-term sector strategy to work with and to be able to achieve. And the incomplete and inconsistent submission of this data, weak validation processes. Data is often not thoroughly checked for errors or accuracy before submission. This increases the risk of incorrect conclusions and poor decision making. The importance of data quality is whenever MDA submits data, we need to interrogate. We need to probe further in order to check for the validity and reliability of that data. We must ensure the data is reliable and the validity of that data. And the reason why in the submission of data into the ECO 360 Data Hub, data digital platform, is to ensure that apart from the data collector, the data validator will ensure that what the data collector for each MDA must submit must have been thoroughly checked and validated before the submission. Even at that, on that ECO 360, at the back end, we at the Lagos Bureau of Statistics will ensure data reliability and probe further to see the reliability of such data submitted by an MDA. In doing this, before we finally upload on the digital platform called eco360.ng. Delayed reporting timelines. MDAs sometimes submit data late, disrupting the schedule reviews and planning cycles. And lastly, technological and coordination gaps, outdated information technology system, and poor inter-MDA coordination reduce data reliability. That means there is need to have an integrated system from sector to sector, from MDA to another MDA, in order to address these gaps. Next. Why data validation important? Data validation is important because it ensures accuracy, reliability, and credibility of data, enabling informed decision making, effective planning, and meaningful comparison across MDAs and over time. Next. From data to development, there are 5 suggested concise, high impact data leadership priorities that Lagos State really needs. Strong data validation and standards. We need to ensure all MDAs submit accurate, consistent, and reliable data. In doing this, the time factor of the submission, like inflation rate, we cannot submit inflation rate of January in March. So the time factor of the use of the data. Timely and complete reporting. We must ensure to enforce clear timeliness so that data supports planning and budgeting cycles. Data-driven decision making. We must use evidence, not assumptions, to shape policies and programs. We must use evidence in order to make those good decisions, not assumptions. Assumptions, it is the use of the data that will assist us to shape the policy, implement the policy, and review the policy over time. That's what is called impact evaluation, that we can subject a particular policy to see whether that policy is working for us or not working for us. And we can review that policy through the use of reliable data for such policy, whether it's really working as planned or not, which it may need or to subject to a review. It is the same data that we must adopt in order to review the policy. That means the policy initiation, policy formulation, policy implementation, and policy review. Harmonize data system to reduce duplication, interagency data coordination, to reduce duplication and improve efficiency. Accountability and performance tracking. It is the data from the starting to the end, in between the monitoring results and the use of evidence-based data. And there is what is called result-based management. Result-based management, these are the data through the performance tracking by performance indicators that will determine the key ones amongst the so many performance indicators. And the key performance indicators must speak directly to the mandates and the goals while that agency was being set up. So in order to use data, we need to use the data to monitor results and improve service delivery to the citizens of our dear state. Next. Here are what executive leaders can practically do to fix data rendition challenges and strengthen all data activities in the state. Issuance of strong executive directive, mandates timely and accurate data submission by all MDAs with leadership commitment to evidence-based governance. 2, the second one is standardized data through ECO 360. Already, through the use of the data collection app, we have identified the type of data to be collected by each agency. We have done terms and definition of terms and measures for us to design appropriate templates that speak to your mandates as well as the objectives of a particular MDA. We also need to adopt ECO 360 as the central platform, data platform for uniform indicators, templates, and real-time data reporting. The third one is strengthening accountability and oversight. We need to link data compliance on ECO 360 to MDA's performance assessments with clear consequences for non-compliance. What we are saying here is the ECO 360, we need regular and submission of our data of the performance of MDAs on the ECO 360 data platform. And not just that, MDAs must look at the time, must be timely submission of data, and we believe there should be consequences of this rendition of data for decision making in order to make the states have more development, and development brings about investments. We also need to invest in capacity and digital systems. Regularly train MDA data officers and strengthen digital infrastructure to support efficient data capture and validation. And lastly, we also need to recommended to empower the Lagos Bureau of Statistics as the coordinating authority, give LBS clear statutory authority to validate, harmonize, and certify official Lagos State data before policy use. Next. In conclusion, quality data is the backbone of effective governance and sustainable development in Lagos State. When executive leadership prioritizes standardized reporting, empowers the LBS, and fully leverages ECO 360, data moves from mere numbers to a powerful tool for planning, accountability, and improved service delivery. Strengthening data system today will translate into smarter policies, smarter city outcomes for every Lagosians. Data today, development, and smart city tomorrow. Thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you so much, sir. Let me see your emojis to appreciate our guest today. We have almost about 154 here. I'm seeing only 2 people appreciating our guest speaker. Why? All right. Thank you so much, sir. And I believe we all enjoy him very well. And we learn new things today. We learn about ECO 360.ng. Immediately I hear that, I enter my Google and start check the data. I'm trying to quickly fast track. So now we are going to the question and answer segment, which I believe all of us will have been prepared our question and answer down. So we know, you all know how we roll it here. Raise your hand, use the raising hand emoji. If you have any question or more clarification on the slide, raise your hand or make use of the chat box. It's very, very important to ask questions because all of us, either you are an admin officer, whatever cadre you are, you need data to back up your submission and the other thing that you are doing. So that is why we try to bring Mr. Okpe here to come and do justice to that. And I'm very sure that you all enjoy that and you learn new things. I learn about data collection app and the code 360.ng. It means Lagos State have moved beyond others. Okay, now, please, if you want to ask a question, go straight to the question because of time. Tomorrow is Monday, so we need to wrap it up. Go straight to the question and wait behind and hear the response. Olatunde, unmute yourself, your name and your ministry or where you are joining us from. Olatunde, unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Olatunde Adekola. Let me just start because we have to do this. Thank the presenter. It was well presented. I really appreciate Tayo and what he's doing in Lagos State. I will just start that I came because of the importance of what this you are trying to do in Lagos State. Like in those days when I was in the university and so, they said if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. So this is the beginning of what I think we can continue to improve. And of course, anything you cannot count, you don't have data, you cannot improve. So I really appreciate that from those two lenses. The two questions or three that I have, the first one is that the issue of decentralized data system in terms of coordinating integrated data. I mean, for example, the school level, AGA level, zonal level, local government level, everybody collects data, but all these things should be linked to the state data system. And then the link to that is the linkage between the state system and the national data system, like Federal Bureau of Statistics or education data system or health at the national level. So we have to think about that before you start talking about the issue of the SDG, because the SDG, there is no SDG at the global level for Lagos. It's Nigeria, it's sustainable. So that's my first question. So that if it's not, you think more about that decentralization and linkage between Lagos State, national level, and then of course the linkage with SDG. The second one is in terms of the linkage with what you do and research in the tertiary institution. Because if you want to develop, people finish university, people go to polytechnic, go to this. I imagine, I don't know how much they come to you or they go to different statistical level to make use of this data to solve day-to-day problem at the community level, state level, local government level, and so on and so forth. So it's one thing to be doing all these things. It's another thing to be thinking about the impact on our people. How are we making sure the data we are getting is making difference? And of course, the last one is the Lagos State government agenda itself. I mean, I hear about teams, I hear about all these things that the governor is doing, which is good. But this should be linked to the overall state strategic plan, maybe for the 30 years, 50 years, so that at the end of the day, when the governor comes, they do their own bit, and then another one continue, and you continue. And I think that's what the Lagos has been doing. But this should be underpinned with the data that you people you are collecting. So once again, thank you very much. It has been a wonderful. Tayo used to be my student when I was a Unilag, and I've just retired at the World Bank after 24 years, 35 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my prof, sir.
Thank you,
Professor
sir.
Adekola. Yes, sir. Can I respond?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. I must recognize the Professor Adekola. He taught me about 36 years ago. There is a course called Stochastic Processes in the Maths and Statistics Department, University of Lagos. I want to respond to what the three questions. One, already we've been using manual to collect data, and the manual we've been using, digital, while we have the Eco 360, we have done sensitization of all sectors within the state, all MDAs, including the data collector and data validator. And we have done terms and definition of terms according to each sector. Like we started with 3 functional groups: health, education, and economic affairs amongst the COFOG lands. We have, in order to improve this on Eco 360, we have gone beyond even as sensitization of the MDAs, like the motor vehicle, that's transport statistics under economic affairs. We have done that of the local government, because there is a local government statistic division in the LBS. We have sensitized the local government. We have sensitized, apart from the public service of Lagos, which includes the local government, we have done the sensitization. That's the budget, planning, research, and statistics departments in all the 57 local government and local council development areas in the state. We have done all the sensitization. But what remains there is that we want to strengthen and consolidate on all the MDAs in the state before we move, because we have test run that of the local government across the 57 local government and local council development areas. We have integrated them all, already. Then secondly, we are not there yet. What we plan to do is using the API to unshake whatever database or databases across agencies and so on. We will unshake with the Eco 360 so that we will have synchronization of whatever database an MDA is having, and at our back end, we can check. And each agency is at liberty when they collect data. They can keep some data with us. They will tell us which one to enable, which one not. We have agreed on that. And it is not sacrosanct. It is dynamic. You can assist us to disable certain data or whatever, enable this, enable that, and so on. Then the second one is about linkages. Yes, already we have LBS at lagosstate.gov.ng is our official email. Students LBS at lagosstate.gov.ng is our official email of the Lagos Bureau of Statistics. We have even the public-facing portal of Eco 360. We have trackers, and the students, researchers, they've been visiting this platform. Yes, we are not there yet. We believe development, it should even escalate beyond what we are having now. But we have students and researchers. It is the granular data, whatever they look for on the eco360.ng platform, and which for every research we have set objectives. why they want to carry out that research. And there is no research that have the objectives will determine the type of data you are going to collect. And most researchers, they inform us, they request from us some other granular data that are associated with the one being collected from the ECO 360. However, we are going to improve more on the use or the accessibility of this data. Anyway, there even is an open data governance, and in order to improve, we have to continue working to achieve this data. It's like an investment for the state government. The more data you have, the more the more development and the more investment. Then the Things Plus agenda, and that's why we are tracking already. We are tracking the developmental agenda of the state government on this platform. So it is not cast in stone, but we will continue to improve using this technology and digital platform. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. I want to recognize the president of the Permanent Secretary, OTCI, Mrs. Andrews, in our midst. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Ma,
Mrs. Andrews
okay. Ma,
Ademuyiwa.
can you raise your hand, ma, so that I can unmute you, ma? Mrs. Andrews, ma. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. You can unmute yourself, ma.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am.
How are you all doing?
Fine, ma.
Fine, ma'am.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm just really excited to hear that you're having this kind of discussion on data. I think it's long overdue, and I think we need to have more dialogue when it comes to data. I think it's important that we begin to come up with different data sets, ministry departments and agencies. And that is important because at some point, we're going to have to synchronize that data at some point for use of many, many things in the state. So I often, or because we drive reforms, and every time somebody tells us that they have a reform, the first question we're always asking, what was the impact? And if you tell me the impact, I want to know what data are you using to articulate such impact. And every time we ask those questions, we never get the actual data. So for every ministry, department, and agency that any of you are working in, whether you're a statistician or you're the ministry proper, any of your representatives here, sit down and really use your first quarter this year, begin to come up with different data sets that applies to you, that allows you to really look at impact of what you're looking for. And at some point, we'll be able to collate that data and synchronize to see what's the same thing and what is out of bounds. But I think it's very, very important that we begin to do that, regardless of whether anybody's asking for it or not. Is not the point. The point is everybody needs to start looking at their different data sets as it relates to what they do. And then what we'll do is that we'll connect the dots. It's equally important that every single ministry should start looking at digitizing their own business process. OTCI will begin. We've started business process review last year. I think we've done about 23. We're going to continue this year. And every time we have those discussions with you, it's also in line with you coming up with your data set. Nobody can do your business process for you if you're not able to articulate what that looks like. The reason why OTCI is able to do business process for anybody in the service is because by the nature of what we do, it is entrenched in the way that we deliver impact. So we don't even have a choice. So there are agencies that have written for us to look at their SOPs, their business process. We started doing it by CADA driven, and we needed to do CADA driven because we realized a lot of people didn't know their core competency let alone to be able to write their own business process. So we've been mandated to go ahead and do that for everybody. So you need to start looking at that going forward. But I just wanted to join the call to commend Minister of Economic Planning and Budget, and particularly Mr. Oseni Okwe, for having
Thank
this
you.
discussion. And this discussion must continue. So you might choose to want to aggregate it. I'm not sure, but I think it's really important that everybody begin to look at their data sets. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
ma.
you so
Ma,
much,
yes.
ma, for your contribution, ma. We really appreciate your input, ma. Okay. I will call on Yusuf Sopeyin. Yusuf Sopeyin, unmute yourself from your end.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you very much. Good evening,
Good evening, sir.
my peers. Good evening to my director and
Yes.
the host.
Good evening, Mr.
Good
Chukwen.
evening, everyone. Thank you very much. Yes, my question is going to be on data ownership, because director has really espoused on the importance of data and data ownership. But Lagos State, I know, has always been ahead of every other state in Nigeria. But unfortunately, some states have taken, they've gone ahead in terms of the establishment of statistician general. And for me as a planner, I know the importance of data ownership. And in Lagos, if we are to achieve the optimal level of performance in terms of data aggregation and ownership, then I would like to know if, having like a statistician general in the state would help to really improve data efficiency, ownership and performance in terms of policy making. That's my first question. Quickly, I would just like to ask on the artificial intelligence and the optimal application of artificial intelligence in our data structure in Lagos State. Where are we, and what steps are we taking to align with global best practices in terms of AI and data accumulation? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Yusuf. Okay. You have the floor, sir. Mr. Oseni.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Yusuf Shokpain. The issue of the policy and the Statistician General of a thing, the state through the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget has already taken that up, even at the head of service level at the OTCI, and due process must take place, which they have started, and they will conclude as that and when due from the process they are undergoing to have a substantive XG, and to have the structures, a full-fledged Bureau of Statistics in the state for data validation, data reliability, as well as the ultimately ownership of such data. Then the area of AI, already the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget has gone ahead to start capacity building in artificial intelligence, courtesy of our commissioner, for almost for all the directors and key officers within the ministry. Yes, we're already thinking of the AI, because most times AI will do what I can see, you can see it, that anywhere we are, AI will assist. It's about data sharing, it's about data validation, it's about be on the same page of the use of the AI and optimal application. We just started that of the artificial intelligence in the use of data in the state, and I believe is the in thing that I believe the state and the Bureau of Statistics particularly will go into. And we have also to take into cognizance the data data privacy, data protection and privacy law, into play. Which must interplay and recognize that in carrying out the AI, there must be deliberate, action. There must be deliberate understanding in sharing my data and use of the AI application, in the nearest future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, Mr. Bashir Tayo Osedope. Thank you so much, everyone. So let me quickly run through the chat box if you have any question, commendation, and others. Okay, Badmos Mudupe, I said I have realized that the price list from LBS is not always commensurate with the reality of the market. I urge the Bureau to consider the current inflationary trend before fixing the value of goods and services. That message is coming from Badmus Modupe. Taiwo thanks Mrs. Andrews for joining us today. Okay, Tunji Okpe, good job, sir. But is there any collaboration in items of data gathering and collation with the Lagos International Revenue Service for optimum revenue performance? Thanks. Sir, I hope you are noting that, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to run through this so that you can just answer the question at once because of time. Taiwo said, hope effective data storage and encryption with firewall are done against hackers. Effective cloud backup of the data is also important. Techno KL5, I thank you, my brother, Director Bashir Temitope, a good and comprehensive and well-presented lecture. Taiwo, okay. We appreciate you so much, sir, for the inciting lecture, okay? Appreciating. Okay, I think there is no more question here. Others are appreciation.
Comments.
Okay. So yeah, so you can go ahead on that question, sir.
Yes, on the price list, price statistics is dynamic. And what we are having as price data, we call it average price. And if you look at the publication emanating from the Bureau of Statistics, if you price something in the morning in Ikeja, if you go back in the evening, let's say maybe it's 10 naira in the morning, it could be 10 naira 50 kobo by 6 p.m. or by 4 p.m. That means price is dynamic. What we publish are average price of a particular item, and that's why we put mid-term, like medium term, 3 months, within that prices of such item. But if you look at the preface of that publication, we advised or we recommended that they should put between 10% to 15% markup. That's the recommendation, that between 10 to anything beyond this may look taking into consideration the CPI and inflation rates. the inflation rate has nosedive. And what determines the inflation rate proper majorly is about all foods, because we have 13 factors that they use to compute the CPI, which will eventually lead to the inflation rate. All the prices you see on our publication, they are average prices, but we recommended that between 10 to 15% we should apply on that average price. I think that settles that. Then, secondly, it's about the Lagos Internal Revenue Service. Yes, we especially, in Lagos, we have most of our informal sector covers more than 60%. And we have already, we have very good rapport with Lagos Internal Revenue Service, that you cannot generate revenue without data. It's not how much now. It is the data that will determine how much will you do. So the more robust the data is, the better the more improved revenue collect, especially like withholding taxes. On withholding taxes alone, we can generate more using the data. So we have very good rapport with Lagos Internal Revenue Service, but we still strengthen our collaboration, which we continue to do, even apart from the Lagos Internal Revenue Service, with all the MDAs, because we started what is called data review, mandates review, agencies data review. We've been doing that, moving from one agency or another, where the chief executive officer or the accounting officer of that agency will call all the directors and the functional units of that agency to let them have understanding of why we must do mandates review, data review, where there are some data that are obsolete, that because of the technology or because of the global world, the focus has shifted, and we encourage agency to do, to be doing this. And ultimately, we challenge agency again that they can contact us. We have our technical team in case you want us to assist you to redesign your data templates based on your mandates and your objectives and responsibility attached to that MD. So we have standing team that addresses such requests to assist agencies to realign the templates or assist to define the key performance indicators, looking at their mandates and their ministerial responsibilities. And we also try as much as possible to avoid mandate conflict, and that's why there is need for each agency to have statutory mandate mapping, that it will not conflict, so that you avoid cross-cutting issues will be avoided, in order for the medium-term sector strategy to work in the state and achieve a smarter city, Lagos. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Okay, PS want to say something? You can unmute yourself, Ma.
I just want to re-clarify what the director is saying. So your mandate may not necessarily allow you to create your data sets. It is your activity that will do that. Because there's mandates that people have that they're not even carrying out. They're not even following it, right? Meanwhile, somebody else is doing that mandate, which is we're entrenched and dealing with overlapping of mandate as we speak. We're working on that. We're working on delineation of mandate as we speak as well. And so I want to clarify something. Your mandate may not necessarily allow you to come up with data sets if you have no activity attached to it, right? So it is your activity which means and people need to understand the difference between output and outcome. Output and outcome, right? Output, and so an example of an output, just in case some of us are not clear on it, because I see some information when we go out on the field, and it baffles me how people are defining their output versus outcome. And an example of an output is, I'm going to do a road 20 kilometers from Lekki Bridge to maybe Lekki Phase 1. That's an output, right? An outcome would be an increase of easy transition from that area to that area by 30% when it comes to movement of vehicles. That is so people need to understand the two. And if you don't get it, you don't understand the two, you're wasting your time. No matter how much data you put or data sets you define, it's not going to work. But you must understand that, which means each year, every ministry, department, agency, their work plan for the following year must be ready by November. The accounting officer must sit with them on that work plan and have a very, very robust template that dictates what you want to do, why you want to do it, what is the expected impact, what would be your output, and what would be your outcome. Unless you have that, you're wasting your time. Now, if you have that and you actually do the activity, then you begin to build your data set. So for instance, I will use WAPA as an example. They give out sewing machines, right? Or they give out stove or generator. Now we had a meeting with them, and they did a phenomenal job doing all this work. And I said, okay, so how do you determine impact? That they were not able to articulate that impact because they had no data set. So we had to send them back to say, go and design your data sets, and we give them samples, name, first name, last name, male, female, challenge, not challenge, what type of challenge, right? Age category and all of that. So I'm saying all these things, and they realize that, oh, wait a minute, because you must be able to determine the impact of what you're doing. Who exactly is benefiting? The same thing is no different from LASODA. So LASODA is sitting as LASODA. LASODA should be able to determine, when they design their data set, how many of the challenged people are getting free healthcare? How many of them are getting free food? How many of them, do we all understand where I'm going with it? So it is critically important that you know the difference. Ensure that your work plan is in sync. And these are some of the things that we need to be advising our, all the different ministry MDAs. Make sure your work plan is in sync. Make sure the activities that you intend to deliver are going to have the appropriate data sets when it's time for you to determine what your output and your outcome is going to look like. What does that really translate to in terms of impact? So we're equally doing mandate mapping and reforms mapping. We're stuck on reforms mapping because people, ministry, department, agencies have not designed their data set. They cannot articulate what they define to be impact. So it's been very difficult to do reform mapping. So again, this year, we're going to ensure that we do it. We've made a decision. Is either we'll do it by sector driven, right? Or we use COFOG. But either way, everybody on this call, whether you're a planner, a statistician, whatever you are, please know the difference between outcome and output. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma. My upset, ma. Absolutely.
Thank you, ma. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, my peers, for this contribution, ma, and the enlightenment. So on this note, because of time, I will call on Dr. Joseph Oga. Can you unmute yourself, sir? Dr. Joseph Oga, can you unmute yourself?
He was the retired Statistician General of Cross River State. He just retired.
Unmute yourself, sir. Unmute yourself, Dr. Joseph Oga. Okay, it's like you are finding it difficult to unmute yourself from your end, sir. Okay. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, sir, we can hear you, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, all, and how are you?
We need your professional input, sir.
Yes, I just connected. I very much appreciate, what is going on and for the enlightenment, because data is very, very key. We cannot plan, we cannot increase our revenue without data. So it is very necessary for us to leverage on data. I'm happy with what the PEMSEC said. The explanation between outcome and output
and impact.
And impact, very, very necessary. As statisticians, we need to support the planners very, very much, because if we don't, we cannot measure our progress. And if we cannot measure our progress, the tendency of us not really advising government will not be there. Our relevance will not be there. So it is with our data now that we can advise government in terms of output, in terms of outcome, in terms of impact. That is what government is all about. Government is about delivering services to the people. And without data, we cannot do that. So that's my little contribution. Thank you.
All right, sir. Don't go away, sir. We still need your input here. Okay, now here on the Public Service Knowledge Hub, we call on any of our participants to appreciate our guests. And sir, I want you to please humbly appreciate our guests and our permanent secretary in our midst and every one of us, so that we can close for the day, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. In fact, I really want to, as I've earlier mentioned, I want to really thank the organizers, the guests, the permanent secretary, the director of statistics, which I hope that in no distant time he will be made a statistician general, because of the contribution he has been making and the contribution you people are making. From time to time, we need to go out, because data is a technical issue. People need to understand data. The MDAs, they need to understand how data plays out. They need to understand how data is generated. Data is generated from the activities. It helps us to benchmark activities. It helps us to benchmark success and progress. So it is very, very important what you people are doing. I very much appreciate, and I expect that from time to time we should be coming on air to sensitize people. Thank you, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, sir. So on this note, firstly, I'll send our YouTube channel a link to the chat box. In case you join us late, go to our YouTube link and access the highlights. And we have almost about 93 videos that you can check public service through, what have you, anything about service. Just go there and learn from it. On this note, I will say a very big thank you to all of us, especially our permanent secretary, for joining us today, and they had insight inputs and open eye to us. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, every one of you. Good night. Have a lovely night's rest. Bye.
Thank you, my host, my great brother, Mr. Jamiu Onosanya. I'm really very grateful, and I thank our amiable permanent secretary, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Anjus Ademuyiwa, permanent secretary, OTC, Office of Transformation, Creativity, and Innovations. Thank you, and God bless, man. And other participants and other colleagues, and my professor, Professor Adekola, retired from World Bank. He was the lead from the World Bank education lead consultant. Thank you all, and God bless, and other friends and colleagues.
So that, let me see emojis keep on coming.